Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. African proverb. Africa possesses the richest natural resources, yet faces significant economic and political challenges. For centuries, Africa endured exploitation, from slavery to colonialism, and now through a more insidious form, neo-colonialism. Today, the West relies on debt, trade manipulation, aid dependency, political puppets, and cultural dominance to maintain control over Africa. However, Africa has the power and the responsibility to uplift itself. This transformation won't come from conflict, but rather through education, unity, leadership, and strategic self-reliance. This video presents a revolutionary yet practical roadmap for Africa's advancement. 1. First, free the mind. The most insidious type of colonization is mental colonization. For Africa to advance, it must reject feelings of inferiority fostered by centuries of Western suppression. Teach accurate African history in schools. Not only the slave trade, but also the greatness of Mali, Kush, Timbuktu, Axum, and Kemet. Promote African languages, philosophies, and cultural practices over foreign influences. Reclaim the narrative. Media, literature, and education must depict Africa as a strong, diverse, and dignified civilization. Mental slavery is more perilous than physical bondage. Free your mind, and the body will follow. 2. Take control of natural resources. Western powers and multinational corporations dominate Africa's oil, diamonds, gold, and land. For Africa to prosper, nationalize vital resources and renegotiate exploitative agreements. Create sovereign wealth funds, similar to Norway or the UAE, to reinvest resource profits in education, health, and infrastructure. Ban raw commodity exports and prioritize value-added processes. Refine oil, process cocoa, manufacture electronics, not just export raw materials. Africa doesn't require aid. It needs fair trade and control of its resources. 3. Educate with purpose for true independence. Africa's educational systems are largely colonial remnants, fostering dependency rather than innovation. Change begins here. Emphasize STEM, entrepreneurship, agriculture, and African history. Transform universities to tackle African issues like power, food security, health, and governance, rather than merely emulating the West. Encourage vocational and digital skill development to prepare youth for a tech-driven future. Education should empower students, not confine them. 4. Move beyond aid and cultivate internal wealth. Aid often serves as a means of control, aligning African policies with Western interests. Africa must reduce reliance on aid by boosting internal revenue generation and productivity. Support local industries and small to medium-sized enterprises through tax incentives and low-interest loans. Develop African stock exchanges and promote intra-African investments to drive growth. Foreign aid seldom builds nations. Self-sufficiency is the path forward. 5. Achieve economic and political unity. Africa's divisions stem from colonial-imposed borders. Unity represents strength. Implement the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, fully. Establish a common currency or regional currencies to lessen dependence on the US dollar, euro, and CFA franc. Create joint infrastructure projects, railways, energy sources, internet connectivity across the continent. Form a Pan-African parliament with genuine legislative authority. One Africa, one voice, one power. 6. Cultivate strong, patriotic leadership. Africa cannot progress under corrupt, externally influenced leaders. It requires term limits and accountability in governance. Transparent governance, utilizing technology, e.g., blockchain for budget tracking. Military and legal institutions free from foreign control. Leadership that prioritizes the needs of the people, not foreign corporations or financial institutions. Leadership involves responsibility, not just holding office. 7. Prioritize agriculture and food sovereignty. Africa spends over $50 billion on food imports each year, despite possessing 60% of the world's fertile land. Invest in modern farming techniques and irrigation systems. Support farmers and minimize dependence on Western-controlled GMO seeds. Develop agro-processing industries to export finished food products. A continent faced with hunger is more easily controlled. Food represents power. 8. Create and promote African-owned media. Western media continues to shape perceptions of Africa, highlighting war, poverty, and disease. To counteract this, build robust African-owned news networks and digital platforms. Support African artists in film, music, and content creation. Empower influencers and youth to narrate their stories online effectively. If you don't craft your narrative, someone else will, incorrectly. 9. Establish independent economic partnerships. The IMF, World Bank, and Western governments often attach strings to their aid. Africa should diversify partnerships with BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Encourage intra-African investments and foster South-South cooperation. Create African development banks to finance infrastructure and innovation. The future is multipolar. Africa must choose partners wisely, not just turn to the West. 10. Engage and reconnect with the diaspora. The African diaspora, descendants of the enslaved and recent migrants, possess immense wealth and expertise. Offer diaspora bonds and dual citizenship options. Facilitate cultural reconnection and investment initiatives. Establish diaspora councils to influence African policy. The global Black community represents Africa's untapped potential. Africa must lead its own way. Africa's salvation won't come from the United Nations, the IMF, the EU, the USA, or China. It must lead its own destiny. Through education, unity, strong leadership, economic reform, and cultural pride, Africa can elevate itself, not to beg for assistance, but to assert its own place. The continent that birthed civilization has the potential to guide the world once more, but only if it ceases waiting for permission and begins to act purposefully. Like this video if you agree that Africa must shape its own future. Comment below. What do you believe is Africa's greatest strength today? Subscribe for more empowering content on African history, truth, and strategies for change. Share this video with someone interested in learning about the real Africa.